All right, guys, I just want to welcome back to the Everything College Football podcast. Today I'll be doing my preview and prediction for the 2025 MAC championship game between Miami, Ohio and Western Michigan. Broncos 2.5 point favorites. 43.5 is the total. 12 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN from Ford Field in Detroit. Getting things started with that Miami offense against the Western Michigan defense. This is a team that's had to overcome the loss of their quarterback. DeQuan Finn essentially quit on the team a couple of weeks ago. Just walked away for no apparent reason, I guess, to prepare for an NFL career that he's not going to have. Thomas Gostkowski, the freshman's been forced in at quarterback, and he's managed it quite well the past 2 weeks. 226 yards in the win over Ball State. He had 185 before that. 4 touchdowns total over those 2 games. So this is a guy that does not have a whole lot of experience to his name. Hendry Hessen. This is a guy who was a veteran quarterback who played awful against Toledo, completed 29% of his passes, had 3 picks. So he got benched in favor of Gostkowski. He's played solid. This is a team that does have some weapons. Cam Perry, 500 or 865 yards, 6 touchdowns. Is a big play receiver. Cole Weaver has been really good, 534. Keith Reynolds is solid, so they have a handful of different receivers that can play football. This passing attack, though, it certainly definitely seems like it's quite limited, especially when you're going to be going up against a defense in Western Michigan that has the pass rush it does, has the secondary that plays very well, 175 yards per game allowed this year. They did just give up 300 plus to Eastern Michigan, but they were playing from behind in that game, and they still snagged 3 picks at the end of the day. So this is a good Broncos defense that does have some good players in the back end. You start with the corners and Javarius Sims, Aaron Wofford. These guys have played solid at safety. You have another contributor in Tate Halleck, who's playing some very good football, especially in coverage. But it's really about what the front seven can accomplish for this football team. They're really built on how they can play against the run and in the middle. Nadamdi Tucker is one of the top edge rushers in the country. This guy has an abundance of stats, double digits in sacks and tackles for a loss of 18 and 12. Very good numbers from him. They're pretty good against the run. Miami of Ohio, that's what they're going to look to do, is to try to have some balance, but more importantly, they're going to want to start and end with the run game. They give up 126 yards per game on the ground. They played this team back at the end of October, and they gave up 148 and ended up being a loss for them. Things have certainly changed, though, because, again, DeQuan Finn, he had a field day passing, 260 yards in that game, and his legs and his mobility make him such a tough threat to contain in this conference. But he's gone now, so I think the game plan and the book can totally be thrown out on what we saw just a couple of weeks ago. Western Michigan, though, this is a team that has some good linebackers as well. James Camden leading the way with 70 tackles. Steven Sapia right behind him with 64 stops. Miami of Ohio, they have an offensive line that's respectable. They're tough. They're physical. Definitely going to be a disciplined group. But that left side's just not impressive. Greg Smith at guard and then Eric Smith at tackle have been awful on pass protection this year. And if they're not able to run the football, it's going to allow guys like Tucker to really tee off. He's not the only guy they have in this pass rush in the group. Rodney McGraw has been really good this year. Kershawn Fisher. Will Gehrig's been pretty respectable. You have Marcel Tyler as a veteran defensive lineman. Tyson Lee as well. So it's collectively been a strong group for this defensive line. They really free things up for Tucker to do work. And I think that left side, again, is just going to be a significant advantage for him when it comes to rushing the passer. So I think for Western Michigan, this is a pass rush that is going to be able to have a pretty solid afternoon against the Red Hawks. Get after it. So it's really going to be up to this offensive line to be able to generate some run lanes, and more importantly, Jordan Brunson being able to make plays with his legs. This is a group that's been hobbled due to injuries. Kenny Tracy, a good running back, he's been ruled out for the rest of the year. It's not ideal. They've Deshaunte Jones, a freshman, getting involved. He's been playing good football, 254 yards and 7 touchdowns. Hasn't really been all that efficient, but he's been able to score a couple over the past couple of weeks, so that's important for them. But I think this is definitely an advantage for Western Michigan going up against this young quarterback with the offensive line he has, likely the tee off on this group. So I think Western Michigan, with their pass rushing capabilities, can definitely make some things happen. Looking at the other side of things, the WMU offense against that Red Hawk defense. This is a group for Western Michigan that's going to be a run-heavy group. They have a quarterback in Brock Lowry who has been great for them on the ground. This is a guy that has 875 yards and 14 touchdowns rushing. They only throw it for about 19 attempts per game. He's been all right, only 2 picks, 63% comp rate, 131 pass yards per game. It's just not really something they look to do a whole lot. I mean, you're looking at 3 straight games now of less than 15 pass attempts, and that's led to a lot lower scores, but they're on a 4-game winning streak, and they've been very successful since they started 0-3 in September against some tough opponents, including a close loss to North Texas, a team that's really good, fighting for a playoff spot right now. So this is an offense that's been able to weather some storms against tougher competition. It's not just Lowry, though. Jalen Buckley, a veteran running back, 636 and 6 scores. Devin Miles, pretty respectable, 346. It's going to be really those three guys getting the bulk of the touches for this run game. Talik Williams at receiver has 478 yards, a pretty respectable player. Miami of Ohio, though, plays incredibly tough defense. They always have under Chuck Martin. Same thing goes for them, right? They have a nice defensive line that's good against the run. They have pass rushing capability. They only give up 117 yards on the ground. And they held this rush game in check for the most part, 144 yards in that win a couple of weeks ago. So even though I said you could throw out some things, it's not completely, right? Because I think the defense and offensive matchup on this side of things is relatively the same. It's going to be hard for Western Michigan to generate much more of a run game other than trying to wear down this defense as Miami figures to be on the field alive. Their offense is indeed going to struggle, and that's where they can really have an advantage, is trying to make them have to utilize everybody in the rotation. Adam Trick on the defensive line, 12.5 tackles. Nazir Washington, Jackson Q Watch at linebacker really fires downhill with 9.5 tackles for loss. Malcolm McCain as well as 6.5. Corbin Honderu, a veteran of the program, has been very good. He hasn't played the last couple of weeks still, so you'll need to have to check his status for this game. I think this is a very good defense. They're very well coached. In the secondary, they give up about 200 plus yards per game, but they have snagged 14 interceptions. They have a phenomenal playmaking safety, Eli Blakey, Cialis Walters. I mean, these guys are veterans of the program. They've done very well. They played in this game for the third time in a row, so they know what it's like to play in some big-time games, and they're not going to be faced with too much pressure when it comes to downfield passing. They're just going to have to get up there and make things dirty with their nose when it comes to slowing down their run, and I think they have capabilities of doing that. So this is a very good defense. The corners are not all that great, though. Michael Yarbrough, Caleb Martin, Tony Coleman, none of these guys have really been impressive. So there's some speed out there from Western Michigan they're going to look to utilize downfield. And I think off play action specifically, that could be something they look to utilize. But Western Michigan just does not take many risks on this side of the ball. They like to just run the ball. They don't like to throw it downfield a whole lot if they don't need to. And I think if same thing goes for Miami, if they can put them in these long passing situations, it's going to allow these pass rushers to tee off. Western Michigan was 0 of 8 on third down against Ohio a couple weeks ago. And that's something they did, right? Limit the run game a little bit. It's going to put them in tough situations to convert. Looking at the final thoughts and the prediction, this game could go either way. I think Miami of Ohio is a very respectable program. Chuck Martin's done a great job with these guys. They got blown out in this game badly last year as favorites. I think they were favored. I don't know. I picked them to win the game, and they didn't, so I think they were slight favorites against the Bobcats. Nonetheless, though, I think Western Michigan, they're just in a much better situation here. I think their offense has much more camaraderie because these guys have been playing all year. Western and Miami of Ohio is now tasked with having to start a freshman quarterback against a team that's looking to grind things out on the ground, meaning there's going to be a lot of risk for this quarterback, and I think that the pass rush is really going to tee off with the advantage they have, and it's going to put Gostkowski in some tough situations to, have turnovers forced or potentially just not be very efficient through the air. So I think Western Michigan, they're at a pretty good edge here. I still think at the end of the day, this will be a relatively close game, but one that I don't feel like the Broncos will be in a whole lot of danger in unless they themselves are struggling to pick up third downs and they're turning over the ball. And I think Western Michigan, they're going to come in here. They're going to have a nice home field advantage. Kalamazoo right down the road. It's going to be a big packed crowd for them. The Red Hawk fans will show up as well. So it's going to be a big crowd here in Detroit. I think Western Michigan will ultimately get the job done at the end of the day.